right. Don't you dare make me angry, okay? Don't you dare make me angry.
I want some nasty. Are we having fun yet?
All right, so we have ranking every NBA coach for 2024-2025. And apparently, Popovich is outside of the top 10. All right, so I'm going to try my best not to get angry about this, okay? I'm going to take a look, see what they have to say in the actual article, and then I'll give you my thoughts on it, okay? But I have some initial thoughts, but I'm going to hold it. I'm going to hold it. Let's take a look here. So this article is from CBS Sports, and they did a ranking. They did a ranking of the NBA coaches for the upcoming season, and they have JJ Redick at the bottom. I'm kind of digging that so far. I'm just kidding. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So this is what came into account. Track record. This is obvious. A great coach tends to win a lot of games in the regular season and advance deep into the postseason. Okay, so yeah, track record. All right, we got there. Performance against expectations. Sometimes a great coach is stricken with a limited roster. Okay, all right, okay. So they took into account that as well. All right, can he make lemonade out of those lemons? Some coaches happen to consistently find themselves with elite talent. What does it say about them if they can't make the most of it? All right, okay, all right, that's fair. Points of emphasis. Do your team take the right kinds of shots? Do they allow the right kinds of shots? Okay, so we're bringing in some statistics and some analytics, if you will. Creativity. So it says, have you found unorthodox uses for undervalued players? Are there things you could do that other coaches cannot? Okay, sure. Player development. Do your draft picks pan out? Do you find productive? Okay, all right. Rotation management. Okay. People management. Okay. All right. So right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and say Popovich is A1 in this one with track record. As far as performance against expectations, I would say he's B, right? Like I don't think he's worse than B. I don't think he's better than B. It's like, yeah, I mean, from what we've had so far, sure. Nothing crazy there. And throughout his career as well, he's always done a little bit more with less, just a little bit more with less. Points of emphasis, so that they take the right kinds of shots. Last season they didn't, but they got much better as the season went on. So I give him a B in that category. Creativity, he's always been great at that. Always been great at that as far as use for undervalued play. Always. And even last season, I would say that Malachi came along further than we expected. And I thought Blake Wesley even came along quicker than expected. So I give him an A on that one. Player development, I'm gonna give him an A plus, obviously. Rotation management, that's one where I'm like, last season, nah, I didn't like it. I'll give him a C. I didn't like it one bit. Rotations were kind of strange at times. People management, yeah, easily A plus. All right, let's go ahead and look here. So we have JJ Redick at 30, and that's just probably because he hasn't been able to prove anything, which is fair. Let's see. Tier 8 also, so they put him in tiers. I wouldn't be enthused. So Chauncey Billups, Billy Donovan, JB Bickerstaff, Doc Rivers. Okay. Tier 7. All right. Willie Green, Jamal Mosley, Kenny Atkinson. All right. Middle of the road. Okay. Pop isn't middle of the road. The living legend. He's in a tier all by himself. All right. We'll get to that in a minute. Mike Brown. Okay. Let's just look at the teams. Okay. Kings, obviously, they're on the upward swing. Timberwolves, upward swing. Celtics, obviously, there's Celtics. Knicks, upward swing. Suns, doing pretty good. Rockets done more with less. Not the best team in the world, but they've done more with less. Jazz, Thunder, Clippers. Steve Kerr, tier 2 in the elites with the Warriors, huh? I mean, I don't disagree, but I don't see how he did phenomenally well last season. And then Eric Spoelstra, number 1, the undisputed king. All right, let's just take a look at what they had to say about Pop. I'm actually not super frustrated, especially with them just like putting him in tier 5. Like, hey, middle of the road, let's put him in the middle of all coaches because their team just isn't that great right now. He hasn't won a playoff series since 2017. That's true. I mean, it's true. we've had very mediocre teams after that, and the rebuild is very recent. So sure, yeah, I agree. We have it. His teams fairly consistently rank near the bottom of the league in 3-point attempts, though in fairness, they've trended upwards in recent years. Yeah, and also we just haven't had a really great or substantial amount of great 3-pointers, right? 3-point shooters. I mean, our best players on the team for a few years, at least a couple years, was DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge, and those two are not necessarily 3-point shooters, and we tried our best to get them to that point, and that was just not the case. He's made some pretty bizarre strategic decisions lately. Remember when, God, I hate this. Was the starting point guard last season? That might have been more of a long-term development play. Okay. Sorry. I'm calm. That was never meant to stick. That came with the added bonus of enforcing a tank. But it also, no, you're wrong there. But it also more or less wasted the beginning of the last season. It shouldn't have taken until January to realize how badly Victor Wembanyama needed Trey Jones. And that's fair. I mean, I know as the season went on, especially early on, he switched Jeremy Sohan in for Devin Vassell. That wasn't the best thing in the world. But I think it was just a development thing, you know. It's one of those weird things where you can't have it both ways. Like the Spurs were not going to win a lot of games, and when Trey Jones did come in, the Spurs actually didn't win any war games than they were before. We were on a super long losing streak at one point in the season, but I feel like when Trey Jones added to the mix, we looked slightly better. I mean, Victor Wembanyama got slightly more lobs, but I don't think as a team we looked very cohesive until near the end of the season. And if the whole point was to develop Sohan, I thought he did a good job at it. I thought that was the whole point. And, you know, we can't look back and say, well, we should have did this. Well, if you would have did that, then you wouldn't have been able to develop them. So, hey, you got to do what you got to do. So I was cool with it. I'm not one of those that hated it. So agree with quite a bit of that, though. For 2 decades, Popovich and Tim Duncan to essentially serve as his avatar both on the court and in the locker room. Nobody ever acted out in San Antonio because Duncan set the example. Where are we getting at? Did he attempt to forge similar working relationships with Aldridge and Leonard and run into problems that never would have arisen with Duncan? Duncan was not only irreplaceable, but of a different generation, and we don't quite know if Popovich would handle a modern contender because he hasn't really had one. What happened with Leonard and Aldridge was far more complicated than a coaching failure. It's just that we mostly brush over those failings as outliers when Duncan was probably an outlier as well. So are we criticizing him for what happened with Kawhi was going to happen anyway? I don't know. LaMarcus Aldridge stayed, so I don't know. I mean, I wonder, I'm not looking through this whole article, but I do wonder how many times are they going to bring up other players that have asked for trades throughout these coaches' tenures, because players ask for trades all the time. Bringing up LaMarcus Aldridge wanting to trade is not that remarkable. Popovich is the reason he stayed, so that goes back to, or harps back to what they said at the beginning about, we were also looking at, you know, how they are with players. Yeah, I don't know. If you want to grandfather Popovich into the number 1 spot eternally, well, I won't stop you. He might even be underrated historically, but there are coaches I consider better attuned to the modern sport than he is. I don't even know how to. I completely disagree. I think Popovich has adjusted throughout the decades. He's done a phenomenal job of, not only adjusting, but keeping his standards pretty high and players, being in tune with that. I think that the Spurs and what we saw from them near the end of the season really shows an immense amount of growth. And I don't think that a lot of coaches would be able to get the same type of growth from players. It's just kind of strange, because if we're taking into account everything, especially on here, like for instance, one thing that wasn't even mentioned was what he gets out of players. So let's see, where was it? Was it player development? It wasn't player development. It was. It had been a beginning. Performance against expectations. Yeah. Performance against expectations. I know that the losses obviously was terrible, but at the same time, I think that we get quite a bit of usage out of guys that you just wouldn't really expect to get a lot of usage out of somewhere else, right? I really do like what we've been able to do and manage to do, even with a player like Keldon Johnson, or like I said earlier, Malachi Branham. He's one where a lot of teams passed up on him, and in his second year, I thought he turned into a pretty good sharpshooter for the Spurs. So I don't know. It's fine. I'm not angry. I feel like it was good that he at least, or this article at least, put him in a tier of his own. That's totally cool. And I think him right at 14 right now with the landscape of the NBA and how well other teams are doing, the fact that we lost so many games and they still put him right there, that's cool. That's fine. I think by the end of next season, we're going to have a much more successful season. I think people rank him higher. Like in an all-time list, he's better than all these coaches. And a lot of these coaches are branches from him, right? So anyways, good stuff there. I'm not mad at it. And I'm also not even angry at Eric Spoelstra. I love that Eric Spoelstra is always at the top of the list as far as best coaches in the league. But anyways, I rambled enough. You guys let me know what you think. Yeah, it was a lot of rambling. You tell me what you think about the whole Popovich at 14 thing. Should he be higher? Should he be lower? I think he should be higher, but this is also not something that's going to make me angry. I was angry at first, but I'm cool. I'm good. I'm happy he's in this tier. That's fine. Whatever. All right, I'll get with you guys later. Until next time. Bye.